The house sat quietly at the top of Sycamore Hill, its faded white siding and ivy, covered stone steps whispering stories only time could understand. From the outside, it was nothing extraordinary, a modest two-story home with a cracked mailbox and a porch swing that squeaked when the wind passed. But to Harold Whitman, it was everything. He had built it with his own hands nearly 40 years ago, one nail, one board at a time, while his wife Ellen sat under a tree with a jug of lemonade and their infant son, Lucas, bundled in a blue blanket. Every inch of the place held a memory. The floorboards in the kitchen still bore scratches from Lucas dragging his toy trucks. The dent in the hallway wall was from the time he kicked a soccer ball indoors and broke a vase Ellen loved, though she laughed instead of scolding him. Ellen had passed 8 years ago, cancer, quick and cruel. After she died, the house became Harold's last link to a life that once brimmed with laughter, burnt dinners, morning kisses, and soft lullabies echoing through the nursery. The silence now was heavier, but not lonely. The memories kept him company. He still made her tea every morning, still watered her garden, still left the porch light on when the evening came, because she always hated the dark. Lucas had grown up and left like most children do. He moved to the city, married a girl named Fiona, who reminded Harold too much of a shark in a dress, and climbed the corporate ladder with a speed that raised eyebrows. He didn't visit often, maybe once every few months, usually around tax season, or when there was some financial pressure brewing behind his smile. But recently, Lucas had started calling more, visiting more. He brought his 2 kids, Harold's grandkids, who called him Pop, and melted his heart with every hug. He would help fix the old fence, mow the lawn, even repaint the porch railing. For a while, Harold let himself believe that maybe Lucas had changed. Maybe he missed his roots. Maybe the house still meant something to him too, until one afternoon. Harold was sipping iced tea on the porch, the sun dipping low in the sky, when Lucas sat beside him with a sigh too rehearsed to be genuine. "Dad," Lucas began, eyes cast toward the horizon, "have you ever thought about the future?" Harold chuckled. "I'm 78. All I think about these days is the future." Lucas smiled thinly. "No, I mean the house. What's going to happen to it when you're gone?" There was a long silence. A dog barked in the distance. Wind rustled the sycamore leaves. Harold didn't answer right away. He had thought about it, of course, but it wasn't the kind of thing you said easily. This house was more than a will item. It was sacred. I figured I'd let it be handled the right way. Harold said carefully, "Maybe donate it to the Historical Society, or sell it and give the money to a children's hospital. Ellen always wanted that." Lucas's head jerked. "You're going to give away the house." "I didn't say that. I said I'm thinking about it." "But this is the family home, Dad," Lucas argued. "It's supposed to stay in the family." Harold raised an eyebrow. "You've never wanted anything to do with it before." Lucas stood and paced. "Because I thought I didn't need to. I was building my life, but now I have a family. The kids love it here. Fiona thinks we could really make something of it, modernize it, flip it even if we don't. Live here full time, it's got value." Ah, there it was. Value, not memories, not legacy, not roots, just resale potential. "I'm not ready to give up the house," Harold said simply. Lucas's jaw clenched. "Dad, you're being stubborn." Harold met his eyes. "No, son, I'm being careful." That night, Harold sat at the dining room table alone, staring at the spot where Ellen used to read her cookbooks, humming softly. He knew his son, knew how he thought. The request wasn't about family. It wasn't about keeping a tradition. It was about profit, about taking. He wasn't ready to let go. Not to someone who saw the house as square footage instead of home. Over the next few weeks, Lucas kept showing up. With pie, with tools, with compliments. It was all too sudden, too eager. He began asking Harold to sign small documents for maintenance or county records. Harold, no fool, read everything twice. He said no to everyone. Then Lucas changed tactics. He brought Fiona. They sat Harold down, told him he was being unfair. Told him he was old, that he should be enjoying life, and not wasting energy on lawn care and broken gutters. "You've had your time here," Fiona said, with a smile too sharp to be friendly. "Let us have ours." Harold's voice didn't shake, though his heart did. "You can build your own memories in your own home. This one stays with me." Lucas didn't say anything, just stared at his father, like he didn't recognize the man anymore. That night, Lucas left in silence. Harold knew, deep in his bones, that this wasn't the end of it, and he was right. Weeks passed. One morning, Harold woke up to a knock on the door. A man in a gray suit handed him a stack of legal papers, notice of ownership transfer, filed under Harold's name. Signed, notarized, except he hadn't signed anything. Confused and shaking, he called his lawyer, called the county office. Called Lucas. His son didn't pick up. Harold drove to the city the next day, straight to Lucas's apartment. When the door opened, Lucas stood there with his eyes cold and voice firm. "It's done, Dad. I'm sorry you didn't agree with it, but we had to think about the family. You weren't being reasonable." Harold could barely breathe. "You forged my signature." Lucas didn't deny it. "I'm not taking you to court," Harold whispered, "because I can't stand the idea of dragging our name through the mud. But you haven't one, son." Lucas rolled his eyes. "You're old, Dad. What are you going to do?" Harold turned slowly, heart pounding. "You'll see." And as he walked away, something inside him shifted. Not anger, not even sorrow, resolve. The house had been taken from him, but it wasn't over. Not yet. Harold stared at the empty walls of his motel room, the ticking of the clock matching the slow beat of his pulse. It had been 3 weeks since the betrayal, 3 weeks since his only son had stolen the home he built with calloused hands and memories carved into every beam and board. The day the forged papers went through, Lucas had moved in like a storm with Fiona by his side, smug and triumphant. They repainted the porch, removed the old swing, gutted Ellen's garden, and tossed out nearly everything that didn't match the new vision. The family photos were boxed and tossed into the garage. Even the wind chimes Ellen had loved were taken down. Harold had driven by the house once, just once. He parked across the street, heart pounding, watching from behind the safety of his windshield. A moving truck was parked out front. Movers hired, not family, hauled out the old wooden rocking chair from the front room. It had been Ellen's. She used to sit in it every evening with a cup of chamomile and a book in her lap. Lucas watched from the front door, arms crossed, barking orders like a landlord surveying his latest conquest. Harold had never felt so invisible in his entire life. "You're being dramatic, Dad," Lucas had said on the phone. "It's just a house. You should be happy it's staying in the family. You weren't going to live forever. You didn't even ask," Harold whispered, his voice barely audible over the buzz of static. "I did ask," Lucas replied coolly. "You just said no. I had to do what was best for everyone. Everyone or you." Click. Call ended. The betrayal bled deeper than Harold expected. It wasn't just about bricks and beams. It was the erasure of a life. The home he had built wasn't just stolen. It was discarded, reduced to square footage and marble countertops. But grief has a strange way of turning over into something else. Not rage, no. Harold wasn't a man of fire. He was a man of earths. Low, steady, patient. And when the earth is wounded, it doesn't explode. It waits. Then came the mistake. Lucas called again, this time with a request. "Hey, Dad, look. About the documents, Fiona's a little nervous someone might raise questions, and technically the paperwork's a bit shaky. Can you just show up and sign some things, legitimize it?" "Just a formality," Harold almost laughed, but he didn't. He agreed. Of course, son, he said, whatever makes it easier. Lucas sounded relieved. Great, we'll have our guy draw it up. Harold hung up the phone and stared out the window, watching the sun set behind a row of power lines. He had no intention of signing a thing, but the invitation meant one thing. He was being let back in. The setup Harold called an old friend, Marcus Bell, retired attorney, old school, sharp as a whip and loyal to the bone.